guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome. If it's, you're returning, welcome back. It's good to have you here. This is going to be a brief roundup of 10 of the records that I've bought over the last 12 months that I feel have really had an impact on me. They were records that I've, sort of, some of them are grail records, some of them are audiophile records, some are OG pressings, some are reissues. But all these records that I'm going to go through, the 10, in my opinion, the 10 records that have been the best out of the ones that I've bought for myself this year. There's probably some artists here you've not heard of before, which is fine, but if you're gonna get some inspiration from this, that's a good thing. So in late 2021, I was in the middle of collecting the Analog Productions Doors 45 RPM records, and the last one for the collection for me I got, I think it was around about January 2022, possibly February, I can't remember exactly when I got it. But that's Waiting for the Sun by the Doors. This is the Analog Productions double 45 RPM pressing. For those that don't know, these Analog Productions 45 RPM Doors pressings are now looked upon as de facto go-tos by any standard. They are better than the original pressings, and cut at 45 RPM, there's more information in the grooves, you're getting more information out on a good system. This is my favourite album of theirs, along with, I like Morrison Hotel as well, but this is my number one. Morrison Hotel was my second favourite, I guess, along with possibly LA Woman. But yeah, so this was one of the first records I bought. It was before I started this channel, actually. I started this channel back in May 2022. I actually I posted my first video on the 2nd of May. And I bought this in around about January, something like that. But yeah, the Doors, Waiting for the Sun. A great sounding record. If you haven't got any of these Analog Productions records, you owe it to yourself to seek them out. Now, I can say now, Michael 45 RPM audiophile in Germany has struck a deal with Chad Casson of Analog Productions. Michael 45 is now going to be selling Analog Productions stock from Germany, from Europe, and shipping them throughout Europe and into the UK. So the shipping costs will be significantly less than if you was buying it from the US. So if you're interested in this, I'll put a link to Michael 45's Analog Productions web shop. You can go and see what he's got to offer. I don't know if he's selling these yet, but I guess if the demand is there, that will get them in stock. Alright, but yeah, so the Doors, Waiting for the Sun. The next one I've spoke about a few times. I got this earlier in the year. I actually got this originally in 2021, but the version that I got, I bought it off Discogs, and it was a classic example of the guy advertising it incorrectly. Now, I should tell you now, it's the Stranglers, the Raven. This is the 3D version with the lenticular cover. I ordered this off Discogs. The guy sold it to me for 30 quid. When it arrived, it was the standard version, albeit in really, really good condition. I have gone over this story before, but I'll briefly go over it again. But I bought it thinking I was buying the 3D cover, and he sold me the normal standard cover, which wasn't the end of the world, because what I paid for it was around about what the standard cover goes for anyway, 25, 30. So I wasn't too peeved, only with the fact that It wasn't the cover I wanted. Fast forward to around about January time, and a gentleman on the Rager forum on Facebook, I put a rant up there talking about Discogs and this, that and the other, and he said, oh, I've got a copy of that 3D. He said, I'll post some pictures of it. Posted some pictures of this, and he said, I don't want it. He said, I bought it when it first came out, played it once, didn't like it, put it in my collection, not seen the light of day since. You can have it. And he sent it to me, and that's what this is. And this is in as new condition. It's as good as you're gonna get. This is in pristine condition. It's like it's just come out of the shop. It sounds absolutely brilliant. It sounds exactly the same as the standard cover version. They're both exactly the same pressings. I've still got the other one, but I got this earlier this year as a sort to go with my standard version, so I'm actually quite pleased. I've got both versions now. This is holding its price a little bit. It's, I suppose you pay about 50 quid for this if you want a near mint copy of this. I was dead lucky. I offered him money, he didn't want it. I offered to pay for the postage, he wouldn't let me pay for even the postage. So there are some good people out there. But yeah, Stranglers, The Raven, yeah, one of my favourite Stranglers albums. Next to Rattus Norvegicus, this is one of my favourites. Rattus Norvegicus is on my to-do list. You know, I want to get that album, but I'm going to be specific about what copy I want to buy. So we'll see. But yeah, Rattus, the Stranglers, The Raven, one from earlier this year. Great stuff. So, courtesy of a mate of mine, Tom, he got me into Scott Walker sort of a year or so ago, and over the last few years I've slowly bought various Scott Walker albums, and this year I bought this Abbey Road half-speed mastered copy of Scott 4. If you've not really heard Scott Walker, it's interesting. Obviously he was in the Walker Brothers in the 60s, and his solo material is quite different to the Walker Brothers stuff. It can be quite, I mean, his first 4 albums are really accessible, but his albums that he done after Scott 4 are quite, you know, they're quite difficult for some people to get into. They're quite ambient, they're quite avant-garde in parts. But this, when I bought this year, this has got the 7th seal, which opens side 1. And that track for me, I just love it. I just love it. I can't stop playing it. When I play this record, I normally play side 1 2 or 3 times before I flip it over and play side 2. The whole album to me is perfect. Yeah, Scott 4, Scott Walker. If you fancy some serious crooning, get yourself some Scott Walker, you know. But yeah, brilliant stuff, and really sounds good. The half-speed master by Miles Scholl at Abbey Road. This is actually quite good. There are some dodgy half-speed masters out there by Abbey Road. The Velvet Underground springs to mind. You know, it was never a highly produced record, that, but for some unknown reason, when they half-speed mastered the Velvet Underground and Nico, they cocked it up. But they've done a stellar job on this. This is really, really quite good. It's quite a dynamic sounding record, lots of air and space in it. I would love to hear a first pressing against this, though. Maybe I will look at getting a first pressing in 2023, and I'll be able to do a shootout video between this and an OG pressing. But yeah, Scott Walker, Scott 4, brilliant record, brilliant singer, and yeah, I would say one of my top 5 artists of all time, actually. Yeah. And while we're talking about brilliant singers, this is a record that I bought. Originally I bought the standard pressing again in 2021, but I only picked this up earlier this year, and that is Norah Jones' Come Away With Me. This is the Analog Productions standard 33 RPM cut, all cut from the original Analog Master tapes. This is brilliant. It sounds absolutely epic. I've A/B tested it against the standard version. This beats it hands down. Yeah, if you really want to put something on, some bluesy jazz sort of background music, this is perfect for it. It's really good to just sit down and listen to as well. But what I like about this album, it's a bit like Diamond Life by Sade. They're unobtrusive records. You can put them on, turn them down a little bit low, and they play in the background, and it's good sort of evening music if you've got friends around, that sort of thing. But yeah, Come Away With Me, Norah Jones, brilliant sounding pressing. Analog Productions really do pull these things out the bag when they do these, and they are all analog. They are from the original master tapes, unlike some record companies we can mention, not mentioning any names. Oh, we're getting to the cream now of what I bought this year, and this band, this is a first pressing, and I really loved this band when they first come out in the early 80s. They sort of found their feet in the early 80s, but this record was actually released in 1979, and that is Quiet Life by Japan. This is a Japanese, right, so the original Japanese first pressings had this OB, but the picture was colour, and it came the poster. This is still the same, they used the same metalwork to press the record, but the jacket is slightly different. The OB is sepia photograph and there's no poster. But the record inside is exactly the same pressing as the first pressing. This was literally weeks after the first pressing came out in Japan. This sounds absolutely phenomenal. The mastering on it, the Japanese mastering really suits this record. It's obviously super clean vinyl, which is good. The Japanese are famous for that. Early Japanese pressings are so quiet. Really suits this music, and you know, it's Japan, so it made sense to get Japanese pressing. The actual original first ever pressing was Canadian, which was it's released in Canada literally about 2 weeks before it was released in Japan. So if you want a true first pressing, go to the Canadian one. But I don't know what the quality of that's like. I've not heard the Canadian first pressing. But obviously it wasn't pressed in the UK until 1980. So this is a 79 Japanese pressing. It sort of beats the UK by about 6 months. Okay, but yeah, Japan, this has got Mick Karn on it on bass, and his bass playing's all over this. Dave Sylvian's vocals on it. It's a great record. It's I've not heard the remaster, but I very much doubt it's going to be as good as this. I really do. Oh, lots of birds out in the garden. Yeah, Japan, Quiet Life, one of my favourite records ever. That, I just love it. This was a recent purchase for me, the last few months, and this appeared in a Vinyl Finds video, I think a few weeks back. It's my ongoing Thomas Lear obsession, scale of 10. This was Thomas's last physical vinyl record before he started producing exclusively to CD. So everything following this was basically CD only released. This is on the Arista label. This I paid literally, I think I paid about 10 quid for this in near mint condition, and it is in pristine condition. I mean, I honestly looked and I can't even see any spindle marks on the record. It's that good. Thomas Lear, this is really quite poppy actually. It's more commercial and more accessible. His other material, his earlier stuff is, I love his earlier stuff, but a lot of it's instrumental, especially when you go back to the stuff that he did with Robert Rental in 1979. That's more ambient and more avant-garde and more sort of in the weeds of electronica. Sort of, they were getting heavy influences from Kraftwerk and early Human League. Yeah, but this is more accessible. Think of Howard Jones, but with more intelligent lyrics and you know, really. Not saying Howard Jones isn't intelligent. Don't get me wrong. He's a good singer-songwriter. He does some great stuff. But this is like Howard Jones, but it's got a better sensibility, I think, and it's more left field. Let's say that it's more left field. But yeah, Thomas Lear. Oh, there's a story behind this one. I used to have the original pressing of this. You have to excuse me, I'm getting over a bad cold, as you can probably hear. The Dream Syndicate, Days of Wine and Roses. I used to have the original UK pressing of this back in the 80s, and I sold it, and I am forever kicking myself for that. However, Record Store Day a few years back, they reissued it with a 12-inch EP and a 7-inch record as part of a pack. And that's what I've got here. But this was not available in the UK. I had to buy this from the US. And this was part of Record Store Day in America. It wasn't part of Record Store Day over here, which I think is a travesty. Maybe it's because the Dream Syndicate are not seen to be as big in the UK. I don't know. But anyway, if you've never listened to the Dream Syndicate, please, if you like the Stooges, if you like the Velvet Underground, you need to listen to this record. This should be high on your list. This album is their debut album, and I think this is such a landmark album. This is a landmark album in the way that the Velvet Underground and Nico was a landmark album. This is garage rock, psychedelia, grungy, New York, Velvet Underground, feedback. It's all of the above. You know, this is a seriously good record. The extras are good. The 7-inch single is the project that I forget his name now, the lead singer, did, called 15 Minutes. And I think the 12-inch is some early recordings by the Dream Syndicate. But yeah, if you really want to open your mind to something, if you like the Velvets, Stooges, etc., get the Dream Syndicate. Really worth checking out. A really important record, and it sounds killer. This is a really good pressing, this Record Store Day one. It's actually holding its price. I've not looked on Discogs to see how much this is going for. Maybe I should have done that before I made this video, but maybe when I edit it I'll put the price down here, what it's going for. But yeah, the Dream Syndicate holds a big space in my heart from the 80s. I used to listen to this a lot with my mates, and before we used to go down to the Res in Romford. So we're coming to the final three now. This one is another band. This is an OG pressing. This is another band that was this came up in a Vinyl Finds video a few weeks ago, 6-7 weeks ago, or whatever it was, a couple of months. And that is Eyeless in Gaza. This is Red Rust September. This album's a classic album from the early 80s. If you like early Tears for Fears, give this a go. You might struggle with the lead singer's voice. It's not to everyone's liking, But if you like early Tears for Fears, like Hurting era Tears for Fears, give this a go. This is really sort of do-it-yourself electronic rock, really, on the Cherry Red label. It's a really good sounding pressing as well. This is the first pressing on Cherry Red. It's a brilliant record, a brilliant record, and worth checking out. It's got they lifted a single off of this called New Risen. I seem to remember that being played a lot on the John Peel show at the time. And yeah, but the album is worth checking out if you like early Tears for Fears. Yeah, I picked this up this year and it's really excellent, really good. Right, final two. So this next one is 4 years in the making, and I am of course talking about Pink Floyd's 2018 remix of Animals. I'm not going to waffle on too much about this. I'll link to the videos down below. I've done an unboxing and I've done a shootout, but this was this was one of the highlights of the year for me. We've waited a long time for this, and when this came along, when this dropped, I couldn't have been happier. This is just brilliant. They've really knocked it out of the park with this remix. I think, it's my opinion. It has sort of raised a few mixed opinions throughout the fan base, but I think in general the feedback they're getting is good. It's all positive. It's a really good set. Now, when they first reissued this back in, I think it was October, wasn't it? October. It was hit by quality control problems. Certain pressing, when it was first issued, so this is the box set. I've got the box set, I ordered the box set, but the standalone vinyl version was released a month earlier. So I was late getting this. Everyone else had it sort of a month before me. But there was lots of feedback on the forums and online with people saying, oh, the noisy vinyl, it's jumping, it's skipping, it's getting needle getting stuck. There's pops and clicks all over the place I can't get rid of. It's just poor quality control. So obviously I was nervous. Fortunately, when I got this, it's excellent, you know. Yeah, so if you're on the market for a really good copy of Animals, buy this one. The Bernie Grumman remaster from 2017 is good, but you know, it's basically polishing up the original 77 mix, which is good. This is a different beast. This is like lifting the veil off of it. It's like, you know, put it this way, listening to the original Animals is like looking, when you need glasses, it's like looking at something without glasses on. Listening to the Bernie Grumman remaster is like listening to the original mix, but with glasses on, where you know you need an eye test, if that makes sense. They're not perfect. This is where you're listening to Animals and you've just been to Specsavers and got yourself a brand new pair of glasses and everything's like bing. That's what this is. That's the analogy I've got for it anyway. And we get to the final one. This was a grail for me and I waited a long time to get this. I wanted to do a shootout video. This album for me is means a lot to me. It had a big impact on me when I was a kid growing up. That's Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. This is a first pressing. This is on black vinyl, not translucent red. This is a WEA pressing. The translucent ones were pressed after WEA stopped pressing. So basically what they done was they Porky cut the lacquers they created the stampers from those lacquers. They took those stampers to WEA, they pressed the black ones. They then took the same stampers to Tranco in Croydon, West London, and they carried on production there. So the first 10,000, I think it was 10,000 or 15,000, were pressed at WEA. After that, there was a further 5,000 to 10,000 pressed at Tranco. Now, the only reason the red translucent Tranco pressings are looked upon as first pressings is because people think that they are the first pressings. Actually, the WEA is the first pressing, not the Tranco pressing, although they use the same metalwork. That is the gist that I've got from the history of this album. They moved the metalwork from WEA to Tranco to continue production. I don't know, maybe they didn't have capacity at West Drayton WEA pressing plant. I don't know. I don't know the reasons why they moved the metalwork, but all I know is that they did. So the Tranco pressings are first pressings, and so are the WEA pressings. They're just different pressings. They're different pressing plants using the same stampers. So there you go. There's that confusion out of the weeds. This is a much cheaper to find WEA pressing. There's more of them out there. Uses the same stampers as the Tranco. And it sounds epic. It sounds epic compared to the recent remasters. You know, if you really want Unknown Pleasures, you owe it to yourself to buy an original first Porcupine cut pressing. Now, let me just say, Porcupine cut is scratched in a dead wax, and that was the pseudonym of the cutting engineer, George Peckham, who used to sign his records. Another Porcupine cut or a Porcupine cut, or, you know, this has got a Porcupine cut scratched on it. It is exactly the same dead wax etchings as the Tranco, right? There is no difference in the sound from what I've heard between the black ones and the red ones. You know, you just pay a premium for the red one because there's less of them. They're rare. But they are no different sound quality to the WEA pressings. Okay. But anyway, that is my rundown of my best vinyl finds for the year. I'll be having one more video out before the end of this year, and we'll call it a day, and that'll be it. I'm going to be working on that next week. That will be the Christmas one, and I shall see you then. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye bye.